Hey everyone, welcome to Picture Your Soapbox. I give you my commentary on news of the day as reported by the Wall Street Journal. First up, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas if you do indeed celebrate Christmas. And given that 90% of Americans do celebrate Christmas, I assume that you probably do. And one of my many gifts I got was this Massachusetts flag lapel pin. But let's get started, shall we? In Christmas related news, the holiday retail spending actually dropped a little bit compared to last year, mainly due to the fact that the holiday season was about 6 days shorter. This is because, what they consider officially Christmas retail seasons, like anything between Black Friday and Christmas, and this year Thanksgiving was 6 days later than usual because since it's fixed to the instead of having a defined date like say November 23rd, it's always the fourth Thursday of the month, and therefore it moves around from year to year, and in a manner of speaking, it's like it moves like earlier and earlier and earlier and earlier in the month, and then suddenly jumps back, and then keeps going earlier and earlier, and because of that, and because we're at that jump point, so to say, it's the holiday season was almost a week shorter, and therefore, the simple reason for not having as many for retail sales not being as high as usual is there wasn't enough time to shop, or wasn't enough shopping time considered. However, online sales did boost it a little bit because online sales grew about 3.41% this holiday season, and it's quickly becoming more popular than retail sales. So, like Amazon and Target with their online platforms, especially benefited from this. But yeah, this shows that there's a definite trend towards online sales, and it's not really hard to see why. Let's see. Also, there's at least one GOP senator now is not going to go along with the impeachment trial rules that Mitch McConnell wants. That is Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, and so she didn't like the idea of like coordinating with President Trump. She wants to be independent. That still means, however, that counting himself, McConnell has 52 Republicans that could on his side, and that's more than enough to pass. That's more than enough to pass the rules for the trial. Nancy Pelosi still like after like rushing through the impeachment through the House, like no witnesses, no nothing, and and even barring some of the Republican witnesses. Now she apparently can wait until she gets favorable terms, which is quid pro quo, which is what they're accusing Trump of doing. Also, the funny thing is they impeached Trump for obstructing the impeachment, and now she's obstructing the impeachment herself. It feels a little hypocritical, I think. Well, actually, not just a little, really hypocritical. But what what can you do about it? She's sort of trending into dangerous territory when it comes to constitutionality because the Speaker of the House doesn't really First of all, it's not even a constitutionally mentioned position, and second, the House can't tell the Senate what its rules should be. The rules of the House and Senate are voted on by the appropriate House. Like House rules are voted on by the House, Senate rules by the Senate, and so if the House Speaker trying to get favorable Senate rules, that's a no go. So for someone who apparently is so obsessed with the Constitution now, she should really know that, I think. Also, in international news, Turkey's growing ties with Russia is sort of alarming to NATO. Because Turkey's one of the original members of NATO, and the United States even for a while had nuclear missiles there pointed at Russia, which actually provoked the Cuban Missile Crisis because in response Russia put missiles in Turkey, or in Cuba rather, and we know how well that went. However, now earlier this year, Turkey wanted to purchase Russia's S-400 missile system. The United States warned them that if they did that, then the U.S. would terminate their F-35 orders because the rules in the development of the F-35 fighter jet were that only countries that actually contributed money to Lockheed and the U.S. government for the project could buy them. Turkey pitched in money and said they're eligible to buy them. However, the United States, because Turkey didn't listen to their warning, the United States has cut off any orders and is now probably going to sell those planes to either its own military or to other contributors like Japan or Norway or any of the other participant members. There's I believe 9 countries pitched in on the F-35. Yeah, Turkey seems undaunted by the fact that they're not going to get any fifth generation fighters from the U.S., despite the fact that the United States is the only country that can manufacture them thus far. And it's not, and it's also a problem for the U.S. because now there's they have to move, like all the parts for the plane that were made in Turkey now have to be made elsewhere. Bit of a headache, and besides, it's having that like Turkey controls, like if you look at Turkey's position on the map, it controls the Strait to the Black Sea because it's on both sides of it. So whoever sides Turkey's on can greatly influence Russia's navy because if the United States has good relations with Turkey, they can block Russian ships from leaving the Black Sea if need be. But if Turkey's on the Russian side, can't easily do that. So Turkey is a valuable member of NATO, and besides that, it's one of the only. It has the second largest standing army in NATO after the United States. So Turkey's a big deal, really. Then next up, on the op-ed section, there's one declaring that Nancy Pelosi's impeachment rush, it's mainly to cover up the failures in the Democratic Party itself. Like by rushing through the impeachment, it serves as sort of a sideshow or a distraction from the main show, which is the Democratic Party is falling apart. For example, especially after the election in Great Britain that proved that socialism is not popular in Anglo-American society. Or not that popular, I should say. The Democratic Party does have a bit of a problem because the U.S. and the U.K. for all their differences are pretty similar. Democratic government speak English. They both have their factions are both they have a strong conservative and a strong liberal faction. Their bases have sort of switched over the years. So they're pretty similar, but different, but there are still some similarities. And so a failure for socialism in Great Britain is something to learn from the U.S. However, liberals are explaining it as not the failure of liberal policies themselves, or rather socialist policies themselves, but Jeremy Corbyn's failure, the leader of Britain's Labour Party. Their explanation is that his own personal style is the failure, not the policies he's proposing. No, it's him, which echoes what they said in 2016 when Hillary Clinton lost. It was Hillary's fault for losing the election, not the policy she proposed. When really, it probably was the policies that she proposed that people didn't like. People didn't like Hillary, but it was mainly what she stood for that was the issue. And problem is we have most Democratic voters, or the majority, are going along with moderates and Joe Biden and whatnot, but then you have this small vocal minority of people represented by the quote unquote squad of AOC and her goons that represent the progressive wing. So they each claim to be the moral high ground, the best way of doing things, and Nancy Pelosi is trying to tame both of them. So I don't really have any pity for her really, but if I did, I'd be you do have kind of a difficult job trying to balance the Democratic moderates and the Democratic progressives. So as far as impeachment goes, it was smarter for her to put their op-ed says it was smarter for her to put Schiff in charge instead of anyone else for the impeachment process because he's a little more aggressive and ambitious, but it's just not going to work. It's trying to drown out the fact that Democrats really can't offer a good plan with their socialism. So the impeachment's just unfortunately the impeachment's just distracting all of the is an effort to distract all of us from Democratic Party's failure. And finally, there's an op-ed that declares that capitalism isn't a system per se. In this, what it means is that nowadays people, when candidates and politicians talk about the economy, they refer to it as as a choice between one of many systems, capitalism, socialism, fascism, etc. Now capitalism is being called hyper-capitalism, neoliberalism, or late capitalism, which is funny because that last one is kind of funny because it begs the question, if this is late capitalism, what's early capitalism, what's middle capitalism, and what's the sign that, and by calling it late capitalism, it implies that capitalism's death is coming soon. So when is that end of capitalism coming? Like 2020, 2030, 2040, 2100? Who knows? If it, but in reality, capitalism isn't the system per se. Like socialism is by definition a system. Like there's a set order for the economy. There's a defined way of how the economy should work, how it should run, who should get what, etc. It's a very planned. By very nature, it has to be a planned system. Otherwise, it can't even begin to. I mean, socialism doesn't work in the end anyway. But for it to even look like it's barely functioning, it needs to be an orderly system. Capitalism, however, is sort of random. I mean, there are laws and regulations and whatnot, but by and large, but as far as like how the general system operates, there is no real system. It's random. It's really random forces of the market because sometimes people can sell their stuff, sometimes they can't. It depends on what people want. So it's sort of anarchical in a way because there's no set order. Like there's no real, you have to buy X amount of pounds of apples or X amount of computers. It's like various different sellers jockeying for buyers' attention and sales and business. And sometimes one company wins, sometimes others win. Like the whole idea, I think, of antitrust laws is actually stupid because like there is no true monopoly for very long. Like say the government didn't intervene in Standard Oil and like just let Standard Oil like become a monopoly. That would naturally prompt someone else to rise up. Like because if Standard Oil really did jack up the prices so high because they're a market advantage, then there would have been plenty of sellers who said, "Hey, that ain't fair. I'll try to find a way to sell oil for even cheaper than you guys." And once they did, they take away some of the market, and voila, Standard Oil is no longer a monopoly. But by intervening in that case and so many other antitrust cases, the government tried to intervene, create a system where really there need not be a system because random chance eventually sorts things out. Think of it like this, like socialism is like in terms of board games, Candyland is like socialism. I mean, there's only one way you can do things. Like you draw a card, you either can move or you can't move. You can only move like a certain number of spaces as the cards, or in the analogy, the government can dictate. And so it's a planned thing. Like I feel like winning at games like that is like it's sort of ridiculous. I think if like you don't really win the game decides whether you win or not, or something like Risk, for example. As it says, the game of global domination, totally random. It's more like capitalism because there is no there's rules about how you win and whatnot, but that's it. Like really, as far as like what you can do, you can attack as long as you're next to it. You can attack countries as long as you're next to it, and you can advance as long as you have guys to do so. It's totally random. I mean, even rolling the dice to see if you could score victories against your opponent's armies, random. It's totally random. There's no set order, and yet Risk still works. There's still a way to win, but there is no system. You see, Risk has no sort of no sort of order in a manner of speaking, but there's still like a defined way to win, a defined way to know, who's the winner, who's not the winner. But yeah, it's not a system. Capitalism, going back to my main point, is not a system. And politicians try to make it a system, replace it with a system, maybe should take another look at just how the market works. That's all I got for you in this episode of Pedro Soapbox. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great daily content.